William Collins and Argo present the Jane Austen collection, featuring Sense and Sensibility, Emma, and Persuasion, written by Jane Austen, read by Prunella Scales. William Collins and Argo present Sense and Sensibility, written by Jane Austen, read by Prunella Scales.
The family of Dashwood had been long settled in Sussex. Their estate was large, and their residence was at Norland Park, in the centre of their property, where for many generations they had lived in so respectable a manner as to engage the general good opinion of their surrounding acquaintance. The late owner of this estate was a single man, who lived to a very advanced age, and who for many years of his life had a constant companion and housekeeper in his sister. But her death, which happened 10 years before his own, produced a great alteration in his home, for to supply her loss he invited and received into his house the family of his nephew Mr. Henry Dashwood, the legal inheritor of the Norland estate, and the person to whom he intended to bequeath it. In the society of his nephew and niece and their children, the old gentleman's days were comfortably spent. His attachment to them all increased. The constant attention of Mr. and Mrs. Henry Dashwood to his wishes, which proceeded not merely from interest, but from goodness of heart, gave him every degree of solid comfort which his age could receive, and the cheerfulness of the children added a relish to his existence. By a former marriage, Mr. Henry Dashwood had one son, by his present lady 3 daughters. The son, a steady, respectable young man, was amply provided for by the fortune of his mother, which had been large, and half of which devolved on him on his coming of age. By his own marriage likewise, which happened soon afterwards, he added to his wealth. To him, therefore, the succession to the Norland estate was not so really important as to his sisters, for their fortune, independent of what might arise to them from their fathers inheriting that property, could be but small. Their mother had nothing, and their father only £7,000 in his own disposal. For the remaining moiety of his first wife's fortune was also secured to her child, and he had only a life interest in it. The old gentleman died. His will was read, and like almost every other will, gave as much disappointment as pleasure. He was neither so unjust nor so ungrateful as to leave his estate from his nephew, but he left it to him on such terms as destroyed half the value of the bequest. Mr. Dashwood had wished it more for the sake of his wife and daughters than for himself or his son, but the whole was tied up for the benefit of his son's son, a child of 4 years old. However, as a mark of his affection for the 3 girls, he left them £1,000 apiece. Mr. Henry Dashwood survived his uncle only a 12-month. As soon as his danger was known, Mr. Dashwood had recommended to his son the interest of his mother-in-law and sisters, but though he had promised to do everything in his power, Mr. John Dashwood had not the strong feelings of the rest of the family. He was not an ill-disposed young man, unless to be rather cold-hearted and rather selfish is to be ill-disposed. When he gave his promise to his father, he meditated within himself to increase the fortunes of his sisters by the present of £1,000 apiece. The prospect of £4,000 a year in addition to his present income, besides the remaining half of his own mother's fortune, made him feel capable of generosity. No sooner was his father's funeral over than Mrs. John Dashwood, without sending any notice of her intention to her mother-in-law, arrived with her child and their attendants. Mr. Dashwood's wife, Fanny, was a strong caricature of himself, more narrow-minded and selfish. She had never been a favourite with any of her husband's family, and the indelicacy of her conduct was highly unpleasing to Mrs. Dashwood. So earnestly did Mrs. Dashwood despise her daughter-in-law that she would have quitted the house forever had not the entreaty of her eldest girl, and her own tender love for all 3 children, determined her to stay and avoid a breach with their brother. Elinor, this eldest daughter, though only 19, possessed a strength of understanding and coolness of judgment which qualified her to be the counsellor of her mother. Her feelings were strong, but she knew how to govern them.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?